Hi everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar. This is Fanindra, Business Development Manager at Avalon Software, looking after new businesses from Middle East and USA regions. So let me give a quick intro of Avalon Software Services. So it's been a decade since Avalon Software has established and grown consistently since then. Now we are offering a wide range of services such as Oracle HCM, SCM, Cloud EBS, custom ERP, managed IT services, and digital technologies. And also we are having our headquarters in multiple locations such as USA, UK, Australia, India, and Middle East, making sure of global presence and catering our services worldwide. And we are also a proud partners with Oracle and have completed more than 70 projects and 30 plus cloud implementations across the globe. Coming to today's webinar topic, which is unleashing the power of Oracle Cloud Intelligent Document Recognition, also known as IDR. So we will try to keep this webinar fun and interactive. During the session, if anyone has any questions or doubts related to this topic, feel free to drop them in Q&A section. We will try to clarify them in between the topics. Now, without any further delay, let me introduce our esteemed principal consultant, subject matter expert, and the presenter of this webinar, Samaita Bandyopadhyay. Welcome, Samaita. You can take over from here.
So a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Samaita, and I'm going to be your host and guide on this short journey of knowledge that we are going to embark upon together. Like Fani already mentioned, the topic of the day is going to be Oracle Cloud Intelligent Document Recognition. And we're going to have a little bit of more deep dive into the invoice recognition solution in terms of it. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a brief introduction about myself. You're going to be listening to me throughout the next 40 or 45 minutes. So let's get to know each other a little better. My name is Samaita. I'm a principal consultant associated with Avalon Software Services. My background, my professional background, I have around 15 years of finance and supply chain management module related experience. I've worked in Oracle Cloud and Oracle EBS on multiple projects ranging from implementation, support, rollout, data migrations, all of that. And in terms of my background of employment experience, I've been really lucky to be associated with multiple organizations such as Tata Consultancy Services, Oracle, and now Avalon. All these organizations have really helped me develop myself, and I've learned so much from them and have already enhanced my skills, still learning, still in the process. And a little personal detail about me so that you get to know a little bit more about me. I'm married. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old Persian cat. So I've got around a multiple set of roles that I juggle and struggle with on a daily basis. And coming to my hobbies, I really enjoy painting, swimming, playing badminton, baking. So I'm a foodie. I love eating what I bake as well. And that's a little bit about myself. Let's get moving into the agenda for the day. Starting off with the agenda, we are going to kick off with the introduction about IDR, what it is. And then we're going to move to how it works. We'll try to explain a little brief introduction about how it processes or how it goes ahead with the different steps associated. We're going to talk about why you need to know about IDR, why we are even having this webinar for the day, how it's going to benefit your organization. We're going to move to the benefits of the IDR that we have seen as for the projects that we have done as a part of Avalon's diverse client structure. Then we're going to move a little bit more detail into the Payables invoice recognition solution. So this is a real business case scenario. I am personally associated with multiple projects where my clients have been using IDR for, let's say, around 2.5 years now. And they have been very happy with it, which was why this particular topic is very close to my heart, and it's close to Avalon as well. So we thought we're going to have a webinar on this. Then we're going to move on to a more generic point of view as to how you can integrate IDR along with Oracle Cloud Services. Security and compliance, that might be a very important point on everyone's mind here today, that when we're talking about digitization or IDR, what are the security or the compliance capabilities of it? Then we're going to finally go to the future of IDR. What does Oracle have in plate on IDR? What are they thinking? How are they going to progress? What kind of research and development is coming ahead? Finally, I'm going to conclude, I'm going to close the loop, I'm going to help you summarize whatever we have learned today or the kind of interactions that we've had today. And we're going to move to the Q&A section. Like Funny mentioned, we would really like to have an interactive session with you today. So although we are going to take Q&A at the end of the session, we would love it if you could interact with us during the session. You have a Q&A chat box with you available where you can post your opinions, your feedback. We would love to hear about your personal experience if you're already using IDR or you're even thinking about using IDR, or any questions. I will be taking logical breaks during the presentation, and I will ask Funny, who's a very kind moderator. He's going to help me out with my questions today. And so if you have questions, we're going to keep taking breaks and we're going to help you out there. And another disclaimer, we are all connected on the web. We are connected on our systems. We're using internet. So on the unlikely event of any technical glitch, please bear with me. I've got multiple backups and backup of backups with me. We're going to make sure that we are back online as soon as possible for you. Right? So let's get started with the introduction. Before I get into what is IDR, let me draw a picture for you as to why we are even talking about it. We are all in a very fast-paced world today. It is competitive. Every organization is working really hard and competing with the other organizations. It is about the survival of the smartest. And if you notice, all the organizations are struggling with, or they're focusing on performing all their business operations, their tasks at the least amount of time, with the lowest amount of cost, and with the highest quality. All these factors are really difficult to achieve. You might have noticed when you have this kind of a scenario in place, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I'm sure it's technology and digitization. If you notice, we have seen digitization or technology conquering the world now. We see it all over. We see how it has helped us in terms of convenience, in terms of user experience. We have moved from wired telephones to mobiles. We have moved from cash to online payments. Then why not use digitization in one of the most important aspects, one of the most tedious and time-consuming factors of all organizations, which is document processing. That brings us to the topic of the day, which is intelligent document recognition that provides you the solution for your document processing. So before we get started on what is IDR, how it works, let's first begin with who owns it. So it is owned or provided by Oracle Corporation. It is a cloud-based service. It basically leverages or uses machine learning and artificial intelligence technology. And what it does at the most simple sentence that I can provide to you is it converts your physical or static documents into digital dynamic assets. So that's what it's going to do. We are going to see it in more detail as we proceed with every slide. IDR helps in empowering organizations. It has helped in revolutionizing the way document processing is done across organizations today. And another common point or another common word that you'll be hearing a lot today during the presentation would be OCR, which is optical character recognition. Optical character recognition is one of the most important steps or one of the most important tools that IDR uses on a daily basis. So what optical character recognition does is it reads your text. So let's say you have a document. I'm going to go into the details of it, but let's say you have a document which is in a physical form. OCR will convert the document, read the text on your physical document, and convert it into editable text in your system. That sounds really fascinating to me. I hope you're also hooked into this presentation like I am right now. All right, and what does IDR do? We're going to see how it progresses. It basically uses or leverages the advantages that OCR provides, and then it does its own bit of work where it will convert your unstructured data into structured data. We're going to see as we move ahead. Apart from this, when we're talking about IDR, based on the little that we have told till now, you might have a question in mind that I'm going to convert my physical document into my digital assets, or I'm going to convert it into digital data in the system. But what if it does not recognize the data correctly? What if it's not accurate or reliable? But it is. It makes use of predefined rules and predefined reference data sets. So the data validation and the data verification is done at the IDR level itself. Further, another important question that I face a lot when I'm speaking about IDR to my clients or Avalon's clients is that okay, we are going to do a lot of document processing. We've got around, let's say, for instance, an organization says that I've got around 10,000 customer invoices with me, and I need to process them. Will IDR be able to handle that kind of data? What if it slows down? But that's not the case. IDR is robust enough to handle performance-related concerns. It is scalable, and it is capable of handling that kind of a huge database. And you will be able to see the advantages that come with IDR as we go ahead. Further, IDR also helps to perform analytics and reporting capabilities with your data that you're going to obtain from IDR. So how it works is you're converting your physical data into your digital assets. You have the data with you. Further, IDR helps you to convert it into metrics, into dashboards, into reporting capabilities, so that your business can take data-driven decisions based on it. This will not, so how IDR comes into the picture is with all these kind of advantages or all these capabilities. IDR is helping a lot of organizations across the globe, across different verticals, to help in improving their efficiency, reducing the amount of time that is required for document processing, and many more benefits that we are going to talk about as we move ahead. All right, now that we've spoken briefly about what is the introduction to IDR, let's move on to what is Oracle Cloud IDR. So instead of reading, let me put the points on the slide. I'm going to explain it with an example that might help you relate to this topic better. Let's say in your organization, you have been given a particular contract, a physical copy of a contract with your supplier. And your contract contains a start date, an end date, the name of the contract, the authorities who have signed the contract, and the terms, the conditions, and the policies that you will be embarking upon when you're going to interact or have business with this particular supplier. Now, you've been assigned a task. You are using Oracle Cloud, and you've been assigned a task to enter this contract information into Oracle Cloud, so that when you open your contract management offering or contract management within your system or Oracle Cloud, this information, specifically the start date, the end date, and the name of the contract, who signed the contract, and what are the basic terms or conditions, not the details. You've got around a 10-page document, but you don't need to input everything. You need to input certain amount of data only. What is usually done by other organizations or traditional form of data entries, you would be using a data entry operator. But this is where IDR can help you out. What IDR is going to do is IDR is going to use, first of all, it's going to use optical character recognition. That is going to help to convert. So what you're going to do ideally is, maybe on a simple level, I'm going to explain. You're going to scan that document. You can have an image or you can have a PDF scan, and you can send it to IDR. How you're going to send it, that's a more detailed conversation. We're not going to get to that, just explaining how it works. You're going to send it to IDR. IDR is going to read that document for you. It is going to convert it into digital text in your system. Not only that, so this is going to help to convert your 10-page PDF file into, or PDF document, which you have a printout of, into a 10-page document on your screen. But that's not enough. That doesn't do your task. What you need to do is you need to identify the key factors on that and convert it into a contract in your system. That is what IDR is going to do for you. Moving on to what is OCR. So like I mentioned, we will be hearing about IDR and OCR relatively today. So OCR is one of the tools that IDR uses. What OCR will do is, for the same example, let's take the same example. For the contract document that you have provided to IDR, OCR is going to come in and going to take the first few steps or first few sequence of steps in the IDR process, and it's going to try to recognize the printed or handwritten text on the document. So let's say on the document you have the printed text which mentions this is the contract start date. Let's say it's 1st of March 2023. IDR is going to pick up 1st of March 2023 and it's going to place it in your digital system, in your Oracle contract management against the contract start date. That is what OCR is capable of doing. Sorry, that is what IDR is capable of doing. And OCR just recognizes the data and converts it into digital text. So that is where OCR and IDR are different from each other. Now that we've come into the introduction of IDR, we've seen what IDR is, what OCR is. Let's move on to how Oracle Cloud IDR actually works. Just a simple set of steps as to what is actually done when you use this particular technology. It begins with document ingestion. The documents that you've received, for example, the contract document that you're talking about, you're going to first have to email it, or you're going to have that document with you in an email, or you're going to have to scan it. Once you do that, that's the first step. You're inputting the data to IDR. Next comes pre-processing. IDR will first go ahead with a pre-processing step where it will clean the document, it will remove the noise from the document, and it is going to make sure the quality of the document is good enough. So it's kind of doing a pre-processing step before OCR comes into the picture and tries to recognize the text. Because if your document is not clean, it's not of good quality, that is where OCR can struggle. So that part of the task is done by IDR itself. Comes the layout analysis. This is a very important step that IDR does. It uses machine learning and artificial intelligence technologies to understand the layout of your document. Based on the layout, it tries to understand what you're actually trying or what you're actually asking IDR to do for you. So layout in the sense, let's say, for instance, in your organization, your invoices or standard invoices from any organization usually have the supplier name on top, the name of your supplier, the supplier's address, your organization's name, your organization's address, and you have the invoice lines, what products you've purchased in a tabular format. This is something common that we have seen even on our regular lives, right? When we go and purchase anything from the shops, that's what the invoice looks like. That kind of information is fed into the IDR by all the amazing developers who have created IDR in the form of layout analysis. So IDR has all these learning models and algorithms in it, which helps it understand. So if I'm seeing this layout, for instance, IDR is going to think, okay, so I have an invoice. I'm going to expect the supplier name and the customer name to be somewhere on top. When there's a table, I'm going to expect it to have line level information. So that's where I'm coming from. Now that we have done everything related to pre-processing and layout, we come to the point of OCR. OCR takes the stage at this point. OCR helps to identify the text in the document and converts it into digital text in your system. So it's just preparing an input for your IDR. So we have the text ready. Now comes machine learning, who does the real magic. What machine learning is going to do is it's going to utilize the algorithm that it has with itself. It's going to use the text that OCR has extracted, and based on the learning models and all the information that's been fed using machine learning, it's going to identify important data fields. So for instance, let's take an example of an invoice in this case. It's going to identify on the document. Now we have a digital document, that what is the date of the invoice? What's the name or the number of the invoice? When was this invoice signed off? What are the payment terms associated with that invoice? What is the total invoice amount? What are the line levels of the invoice? That's what machine learning is going to do. Now that it's done this, it's going to extract the data and store it in the appropriate data fields in your system. So it's doing this entire sequence of tasks for you. Once that's done, IDR comes into the picture and does the data validation and verification. It's going to ensure that the data that you have extracted is accurate, it is reliable. These are done based on certain predefined rules, which is again provided by the great developers who have created IDR. Once you have the output ready, you can further extend its capabilities and use it for integrating with other systems. Now that we have seen how IDR works, let's see what kind of documents is supported by IDR. So there are a variety of documents that it supports, but when I'm saying supports, I mean these are the kind of documents that IDR is able to work with, and it's able to convert from a physical form or a static form into a digital form. First comes the invoices, like we were talking about. It could be vendor invoices, customer invoices, utility bills, purchase orders, your receipts, which could help in your expense management, your reconciliation, contracts, an example that we had taken today, banking documents, your statements, slips, loan agreements, insurance documents, your policies, your claims, your proof of coverage. healthcare forms, which is an important part of the medical community where medical records, patient records are maintained, legal documents, court filings, legal agreements, and HR documents, which could be resumes, job applications, employees. If you search about it, you can actually find out that a lot of organizations, really big organizations, are using OCR and IDR in terms of the resumes that they receive. You don't have HRs going through resumes manually. They use OCR and IDR to identify important keywords so that they can shortlist applications before they can go and proceed with them. So just an example of how it's used. Now, like we mentioned, IDR has the flexibility to handle structured, semi-structured, and unstructured documents. So since we are talking about it, just quickly, unstructured document is a document which has got a large amount of text and data, but it's not sorted out into fields. So you, for instance, might have a huge document over 10 or 20 pages, but we need to know what's the summary of the document. For example, your contract, what's the start date? What's the end date? Who is the contract with? What are the most important terms and conditions of this contract? That is what is a structured document. All right. Now coming to the point of why IDR, why we are having this particular webinar, why we are even conveying all these details, how it's going to help your organization. Like we mentioned already, most organizations or modern day organizations today face a plethora of challenges when it comes to document processing. Document processing forms the fundamental pillar of most organizations because that is what they're standing on. Your document processing means everything for your organization. Let's look at a couple of disadvantages in terms of document processing, which IDR has utilized to provide a good solution for its clients. So a couple of document processing challenges that any organization faces today, you might be facing in your organization, or you might have seen it being faced in other organizations. First is data extraction. You have a large amount of documents across multiple departments that need to be converted into required formats that are in unstructured format. You need to structure them. So that is where data extraction becomes a challenge. Classification of the document. You have a large amount of documents in your system, but how about categorizing? How will you sort them out? This puts in a lot of pressure to organizations, and they invest a large amount of time, money, labor, investment into ensuring that they have a good document processing team. They have manual data entry operators. They have data analysts who analyze the data. So all this adds to the burden of organizations when they're already facing the challenge of competing with others. Scalability and speed, processing large volumes of documents in the real time. Again, a challenge faced by multiple organizations. Language and multilingualism. For example, you might be a part of a global organization that does business across multiple countries in different languages. That becomes a bigger challenge. You not only do you need to do document processing, you also might be getting documents in multiple languages. You need to translate it and make sure that the document is reliable. It has the right information. Document security. One of the most important challenges or aspects that most organizations face today is handling sensitive data. How do they handle this? When they have a large document processing team, the more the number of people, the more the number of data analysts and data entry operators, the larger the chances of having human errors. Then integration with existing systems. So you have your documents, you have structure, then you have them in your system, but you might be using more than one application. Most organizations do. You might want to move your document across different applications. You might have an application A, which is sending a document to application B and then to C, and you want all of them to be in sync at the same time together. All these challenges, this is what IDR has utilized, and this is what IDR has identified as a gap and come up with a solution for. Now that we have discussed on all this variety of factors related to IDR, I would have a question on my mind that how is it actually different from the traditional data entry? What would be the specific things that you could tell me that could differentiate OCR or IDR, again, relative terms because IDR uses OCR, from the traditional data entry? OCR is fast and accurate, but your traditional data entry could be slow and prone to errors, like we mentioned. OCR is able to handle unstructured data. When your traditional data entry works on structured data, Your manual data entry operators will need to go through your unstructured data and structure it before they can even go ahead and work on the data. OCR is doing that for you. And reducing manual data entry. You will be reducing your manual data entry. You will be able to have a major reduction in human errors when you use OCR for extracting the text, and furthermore, when you're using IDR to identify the text and put it across key fields. Now that we have come to this set of discussions that we have done till now, couple of questions that can come to my mind if I am the audience of this particular presentation or webinar would be, it sounds really good, but what if it's expensive? Or it sounds good, there are so many advantages, but it sounds complicated also. What if my business users are not able to understand it? What if my end users or employees are not able to operate this particular technology that you're saying is so good and it might help my organization? That is where we're going to come to discuss on the myths and misconceptions related to IDR. IDR is expensive is one of the myths. It's not. It has a variety of pricing ranges, which is affordable to many businesses, which is why so many businesses are using it today. And IDR is complicated. Again, another myth. It is not complicated. It is, in fact, extremely user-friendly. It has been known and accepted by multiple organizations across verticals, where users are pulling in more and more document types and considering IDR because of the amount of help it's providing, because of how user-friendly it is, and the kind of user experience it's giving to their business users, to employees, to users. And also you have training and support provided by Oracle, where if you want to explain it more in detail to your teams, to your users, to your employees, they have that capability as well. You can do that. Finally, a question that came to my mind when I first read about all this, or I keep reading about artificial intelligence and machine learning and IDR. What if is it going to replace human workers? No, it's not. It can't replace human workers, because you not only need human workers to create this kind of a technology, because it's ultimately human brain that has come up with this, you do need them to even operate it. So it's going to help humans, it's going to help people like us to add value to our tasks, but it will not be able to replace us. So we can all relax and not think about that particular aspect. Now that we've discussed so far, let's quickly go through the benefits of IDR. We've already gone through a couple of benefits. Let's specifically mention them. It's going to save time. It's going to reduce the amount of time that you invest in document processing. And because time is money, it's going to save money as well. And increased accuracy. You're going to get more accurate data from IDR. It's going to be of minimal human error, and it's going to be of a higher data quality. Accessibility. Because you're converting your physical documents into digital assets or digital documents, it becomes more accessible. You can transfer it, you can send it, share it across your organizations. You can utilize this information for informed decision making. Like I mentioned, it has analytical and reporting capabilities. So you can develop reports out of it. You can take data-driven decisions. Your higher management or strategic management can utilize this information, because they don't need to do that initial set of tasks of gathering the data, understanding it, sorting it out. All that IDR is doing it for you. And on top of that, IDR is also analyzing the data for you. Improved operational efficiency. It's going to improve your operational efficiency because it is reducing time. And finally, it's going to improve your overall performance of your organization. With the reduction in errors, the improved efficiency, faster document processing, overall your performance is going to improve. Now that we come to this point, another question that could come to your mind, or that might already be on your mind, is, sounds good, but is it really being used by any industry? Is OCR or IDR being used by anybody, or is it just a concept that we're discussing about today? The answer is no. It's been extensively used across industries, from medical or healthcare industries, where there are a lot of healthcare or medical industries or hospitals that utilize the concept of OCR in order to extract their medical records. So for instance, let's say your doctors are writing your prescriptions. The OCR is able to, it's able to even recognize handwritings by human handwriting. So it can convert that into searchable text and store it for medical records for your medical organization. And in the banking industry, it is extensively used as well, where your banking documents, your customer information, your loan agreements or loan related information, insurance information can be extracted from the form. So you might be remembering, or you might be even facing it. It's reduced right now. But when you go to the bank earlier, you used to have to fill in a lot of forms. How are they actually inputting that data? Earlier, the data used to be inputted manually by data entry operators. Today, it's no longer done. Even if you fill up the form, OCR is actually doing the task of converting it into digital documents or digital assets for the banking industry. And government. Government is also utilizing this in order to store your identity related information. For example, your driving license, for example, your Aadhaar cards, your passport information. All these government organizations use OCR to extract text. Now that we are talking about OCR, it applies for IDR as well, because IDR is one step further from OCR. It is not only using OCR, it's making it even better. So because these industries are using that, the same type of industries are also using IDR extensively. Right. Now that we have discussed on all these different aspects, one of the questions that I very commonly face when I am proposing the IDEA solution to my clients or Avalon's clients is, how will I be able to assess the success rate of IDR? So let's say I want to use this technology that you're saying is so good and will help my organization. But on what factors or what key indicators can I determine if it's going to really help my organization, if it is what I need? There are different metrics that organizations can use, or they're actually using. A couple of my clients that I have discussed IDEA solutions with me have compared based on these metrics. The document processing time, the amount of time your organization is currently taking to process documents, and the amount of time that IDR is taking. So a lot of organizations, what they do is when they're implementing IDR, they first, obviously you will be implementing it in your test instance or your UAT instance or a lower instance before taking it live. When you do it, organizations actually try to assess if the success rate of it based on document processing time, accuracy of the data. Is it really accurate? Is it reliable? Error rate reduction. Are they seeing a reduction in the error rate compared to manual data entry and what IDR is recognizing for them? Productivity improvement. You can measure the number of documents processed per unit time by your data processing team or the document processing team and by IDR. That will give you a huge idea about how it's helping your organization or might help your organization. Cost saving. Now that you're doing most of the tasks associated document processing using IDEA, how much of cost is it saving for you in terms of the manual labor cost, the data entry efforts that is taking, and even penalty fees. A lot of organizations have to face penalty fees when they're processing documents for their clients or their customers because of the errors that happens due to humans operating on it. But when you're using a machine, the chances of that reduces significantly. So you might be able to save money there as well. User satisfaction. One of the questions that we could have on our minds is it really user friendly? Is it going to give a better user experience? You can conduct user surveys within your organization. You can send it to your employees. You can send it to a couple of your really close suppliers to help them understand and ask them, do you think this is going to help us? Do you think this will help us do business better with you or speed up the process? Compliance and risk mitigation. Again, every organization has got a huge list of compliances and risk mitigation capabilities that need to take into consideration. You need to understand whether IDR will be able to meet those requirements for your organization. Based on these metrics, you would be able to take a call whether IDR is the solution for your organization. So as of now, we have come to the point, or we've come to a logical halt during our webinar where we have discussed about IDR, what it is, what is OCR, what are the benefits, how it's used across industries and so. Before I move on, or before I deep dive into the main solution for the day, which is the Oracle Payables Invoice Recognition solution, I would like to halt and want to check with Fanny, our moderator, if we have any questions from our audience right now. Fanny,
yeah, Samita, we do have a couple of questions from Salvator. So the question number one is there a general time to process expectations when processing transactions, or is it depend on other factors such as input data, volume, etc.?
No, it does not depend on input data or volume. Once you start using IDR, So how IDR operates, or usually how systems come into the picture, is an organization takes the IDR solution, and you initially need to do a lot of testing with IDR. So let's say around the recommendation is around 10 to 15 invoices. So you will need to input that kind of data to IDR and let it learn. But there is no restriction when it comes to the volume of data or what kind of data you're inputting, as long as you do a significant amount of testing with IDR. When I'm saying significant, I mean around 10 to 15 quantity of the document that you're trying to process. So for example, if I'm saying about Oracle Payables invoices, what we recommend our clients to do is, when you're starting off in your test instance or your lower instance, first start feeding 10 to 15 invoices to IDR, let it get a picture of what kind of invoices you will be using, what its structure looks like, and then IDR is going to pick up from there.
And the question number 2 is there a way to assess the success rate of IDR if it is used for our organization to deal with a large volume of data? Are there any known limitations?
Okay, yes. So there are no load limitations because it is extensively scalable. It does not have any data limitations at all. I have seen it from my personal experience. I have seen the documents ranging from, let's say, 10 to 15 to around tens and thousands of documents, and I've not seen any issues there. And coming to the next question, or the second part of the question, which was that how do you understand that it's working well for you, or how do you assess the success rate? For different, so like we mentioned, the different document types that we have, based on every document type, IDR also provides you with certain reports that you can run, and every report will help you understand the success rate. So even in the case of payables invoice recognition, luckily I have a slide with me where I'll be able to show you how you can assess the success rate of invoice recognition solution in terms of IDR as well. So you have reports across multiple document types, whether you're using contracts, you're using expense related receipts, you're using payables. For all of them, IDR provides you reports so that you can assess the success rate, how well it's working for your organization.
And there are more questions. How is error handling with IDR? If page number 10 out of 20 pages documents has issue, how does IDR handle it?
So how it works is, let's say you're inputting, like for example, what Funny said, you're inputting a 10-page or 20-page document. At the page number 10, there is an error. IDR will highlight it to you. So what it does is, for instance, let's say you have a contract and you're loading the contract into the system. It's of 20 pages, and on the 10th page, on a particular paragraph, there is an error. It will highlight that for you, and it will provide the document in a draft mode, and it will highlight the error and tell you to have a look. Again, another aspect of IDR, which we are going to discuss as we go ahead, we didn't discuss it before, is it is a future-proof or a learning-proof system where it learns. So IDR works on data models that the developers have created and algorithms, but it is open to learning from your users as well. So let's say we have a contract where you have an error on the 10th page, or it's incorrectly identified something. You can teach IDR that what is the correct information, and going forward, you will notice amazingly that IDR is actually not making the same mistake again. It learns from the mistakes. You can teach the system.
So another question from Shubhrajit. Is the IDR used for supplier invoice processing only as of now, or customers' POs also can be converted into sales orders in Oracle Fusion applications?
So it's currently being used only for payables invoices, and customer POs can be used, but we don't have it for order management yet. So that's again, because I have utilized it in a couple of my clients that I have dealt with, I've seen that they also have this question, and Oracle is working on it. It's in the list of the future document types that we're expecting to come ahead.
And a question from Mahesh, is IDR used for finance and SCM?
Yes, it is used for finance and SCM. It's used in human capital management as well. You might have seen we had mentioned that on the different document types, it's used for identifying resumes, storing your employee information, and it's used by finance where you can store in your expense management. It is used for storing your expense receipts and in SCM, supply chain management, it's used for storing purchase orders. And again, a part of finance is what we're going to discuss about today, payables invoices. So yes, it is used across multiple modules, even contract management.
And there is a question from Chaktadar. If they can read the data and make a proper data structure, can it also integrate with PeopleSoft under purchase to input the data without manual intervention of, sorry, for invoice billing data?
Yes, it can. So for this, what you have to do is you have to use a middleware. You can integrate it with PeopleSoft. I have not used PeopleSoft directly, but I have in my organization, I have a client who are using multiple third-party tools. So we use Oracle OIC. So we use basically OIC for integrating two systems. So what you can do is, what I have seen in my organization or my client is, the data that you're inputting into IDR, you can use OIC and you can transfer it into your third-party system. So you can connect it with PeopleSoft, definitely. You can use it across Oracle products as well.
Okay.
It is open to integrations.
So there is another question from Surendra. What setup required for image solutions?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, Fanny?
What setup required for image solutions?
For image solutions. So I'm not sure if you mean for invoice or in general. So there is no specific setup that is needed. When you are going to use IDR, you will have to inform Oracle that you're going to use this particular solution, and they will provide you the set of steps that needs to be done. There are no steps that you need to perform at your end. It's just a couple of setups that you need to do so that you can enable IDR into your system. Oracle provides that information to you, and then you can start using it. For instance, when we come to payables invoices, we have a particular setup. I can just tell you in terms of payables. So we have a setup of one particular page where you just need to enable it, which means that you will be using IDR for your organization. And then you have a set of choices. For instance, just going a little in detail because I want to help out on this answer. So for instance, let's say in your organization, you want your invoices by IDR to be created, and you want them to be in incomplete status. You don't want them to be directly validated because you want to have a look at what IDR has picked up for you. So you have a set of choices which are basically check boxes for you, where you can select what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what kind of data you wanted to recognize. For instance, in the case of payables, you also have an option whether you want PO matched invoices to be considered into IDR. So all those things, mostly it comes in check boxes. You just have to select the choices that you want to make in terms of the solution that you're expecting, but not a significant setup, not an extended setup. I've seen that in multiple organizations as well. It's very simple. And Oracle aids in the setup. So they do connect on calls with you. They can provide, you can log an SR with Oracle support. They help you out. They generally guide, but I found it to be very straightforward. I've not seen any challenges there.
Sure. That's it for now, Sam. If there are any questions, I'll be updating it with you. And one more thing, in the interest of time, let's make it quick.
All right, sure. Thanks. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the deep dive into the solution related to the payables invoices. This might really help us understand how IDR is helping different organizations. So when we come to the intelligent document recognition for invoices, what it does is, again, it will help. Let's say you have invoices which are physical invoices that are sent to you, or you have scanned documents that are sent to you. You will be able to convert them into digital documents. It will create the invoice for you in Oracle Payables. And apart from this, it will also, like we mentioned, because of one of the questions, we also mentioned that it helps in improving. You can use it, you can help IDR learn more from the amount of information that you input to it. And from corrections, it keeps learning, it keeps developing. Let's go into a high-level product flow. This is mainly to understand how it works in the case of payables invoices. So when we are actually using IDR into the system, we first need to email the invoices into our IDR inbox. So what Oracle does is, Oracle provides you with an email ID, which is the IDR inbox email ID, where you will be able to email your invoices that you want IDR to convert into your Oracle payable invoices on the workbench. After you do this, you need to run a process which is called as the import payable invoices. Some of you might have used it already, which will actually do this task for you and do the entire sequence of steps we have talked about when it comes to IDR. It will extract the data, it will identify the key fields, and it will create the invoice. Once that is done, your invoice is ready, it is scanned, you will be able to see it in your invoices offering. It is generally in incomplete status, and you can teach, if in case it does not identify data for you correctly, you can teach IDR to correctly identify the data, and going forward, you will see an improvement in the recognition. Quickly going through how the steps look like, we've already discussed. So on this, let's take an example here. I am dropping a mail to the IDR inbox and I'm sending 3 invoice images or scanned invoice images to IDR. Once I do this, I need to run the program, which will do the entire sequence of tasks of IDR. And now when I come to my payables workbench, I will be able to see under the scan section, I've highlighted it, that my invoices have been scanned in. On the lower section, the last 3 invoices are the invoices that I've sent through. This takes less than 2 minutes. So it is that fast. Once I do this, and if I click on the particular invoice, this particular page is what you'll be able to see. On your left-hand side, you will be able to see your invoice that has been created at the Oracle Payables Invoice Workbench with the data populated by IDR. And on the right-hand side, just to make it even more easier for you to compare the data, IDR opens something called as an interactive viewer, where it opens the scanned image that you actually mailed to IDR based on which it inputted this data for you. So that's all it takes. It takes 2 minutes and your job is done. Now that we have come to this point, again, a question that we had before was, how will you assess the performance of IDR? We have reports, like I mentioned. In the case of invoices, payables, we have reports. First report is an invoice document recognition tracking, which will help you identify whether the emails that you're sending to IDR are actually being recognized. So it might be difficult for you to track it across your organization. You might have 10 to 15,000 invoices that are being processed in a month. You can't go to every payable supervisor or consultant and ask them that, did your emails go through? You don't need to do that. This report will do it for you. And the second is recognition rate, whether the information that you're inputting to IDR, that is the invoice scanned images, are actually being recognized correctly. Are they picking up the supplier correctly? Is it picking up the payment term correctly? For every field, it will let you know the recognition rate. Moving on to adaptive learning. So what I mean by adaptive learning, it's a terminology which is used by Oracle. It is the process of teaching IDR to improve itself. So for instance, let's say you have scanned in a document, but it has some missing data. How will you teach IDR to learn from it and going forward to not make that kind of an error before where it doesn't recognize the data? So that is where adaptive learning comes to the picture. It's a way of training IDR. And when you train, it's usually recommended that you do it at least 1 to 2 times so that IDR learns from it. From my personal experience, I've seen that in complicated cases, it generally takes about 3 training sessions with IDR. It's a very simple step. I'll show it to you and it learns from it. I'm going to show you how we can do that. Let's take the same example that we took earlier for this particular supplier. My supplier's name is Promega. If you see, the right-hand side is the interactive viewer where you're able to see your invoice scanned image. And you can also highlight data on this particular section. On your left-hand side, you're able to see for Oracle Payables, the invoice that has been created. If you notice on the left-hand side, the invoice number is blank. IDR has not been able to identify the invoice number. Why? Because on the invoice image, if you see, the invoice number is present, but it doesn't mention anywhere that it's the invoice number. It's saying it's the reference number. That's where IDR gets confused. IDR generally operates based on key words. So when it sees invoice number on the supplier image, it will be able to identify that somewhere near the invoice number, invoice number keyword, I'll be able to find my actual invoice number. So that's what it does. Now, when you come to this point, how you can teach IDR is you need to click on the field on your invoice workbench where the data is missing. And at the same time, so both these images, you can have both the windows open simultaneously. That's another capability of IDR. Now you need to highlight that section of the data that you want IDR to pick up. So I'm highlighting, if you see with my cursor, I've highlighted the invoice number. In the next image, you'll be seeing that IDR has picked up that number. Going ahead, IDR will know that for this particular supplier, in this particular section, the invoice number will be present. So going ahead, you will see that this particular error will no longer occur and IDR will automatically create the invoice number for you. That's how beneficial adaptive learning is. Couple of key considerations when you're doing adaptive learning for your organization. We've discussed them. I'm just going to quickly go through them. It basically uses PDF documents or PDF format. So even if you load a document which is in a TIFF format or a Word format, it will convert it to PDF and then utilize it. Adaptive learning. So let's say you're in your lower instances, you're doing adaptive learning in your test instance. You've already taught IDR so much, but now when you come to production, oh my God, you have to do it all over again. But you don't need to. You can ask Oracle support to log an SR for you, and they will load the adaptive learning information from your test instance to your production instance, saving again a large amount of time for you. And initial testing, like I also already mentioned, answering one of the questions, it is recommended that you initially try to teach IDR, at least do test cases with 10 invoices, sample invoices, so that IDR is able to help you out in terms of providing a better performance and better results. Moving on to integrations with Oracle Cloud Services. Now coming to a more general concept or a general perspective for this particular webinar, how can you use IDR for your integration requirements with Oracle Cloud Services? So there are different cloud services that you can use. You can have Oracle Intelligent Process Automation, which helps to combine robotic process automation, AI, and workflows in order to make your document processing better, data extraction better. You can use your Oracle Content and Experience Cloud, which basically helps you to maintain content in your system. So you can store your documents, you can share it across your organizations. It helps in protecting your data. You can share it across a small group of people. Then Oracle Integration Cloud, one of the aspects that we had answered today as well. When you are interacting with third-party systems, you can use your Oracle Integration Cloud to link or act as a middleware. So you can use IDR and you can use a third-party system for PeopleSoft, for example, the question that we had today. And you can use OIC in this place, and OIC will do the talking between these two applications. Further, you can use Oracle Digital Assistant, which basically focuses on chatbots and voice assistants, which further helps in giving a much better user experience. You can use Oracle Analytics Cloud for your reporting, analytical capabilities, which helps your organization take data-driven decisions. Oracle Database to store the information, reutilize it, keep reusing it. And your Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you can leverage Oracle Cloud Infrastructures. Basically, when you're dealing with a large amount of data, you need scalability. You need to leverage the infrastructure capabilities. You can use this as well. Coming to the next concept, one of the most important factors that most organizations face or deal with is security. What are the different factors that you need to take into consideration when you're considering security for your organization? Firstly, confidentiality. Every organization is handling really sensitive data. They need to be mindful of the amount of data they are handling. You have to comply with your regulations, such as your GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, your HIPAA policies. You need to abide by them because that is the industry's best practices. You need to mitigate data breach risk because you're using data processing on a digital environment. You need to ensure that you're not prone to cybercrime, or you know how to come out of it, what kind of data reliability or confidentiality that you're using so that you're protecting your data from being tampered by unauthorized resources. Your trust and reputation. Your organization's reputation, its client base, its customer base will completely depend on how well you can build the trust or the relationship with them. That will completely depend on how confident they are that you're handling their data well and you're not misusing it, or their sensitive information is stored and it's safe with you. Data integrity and accuracy. Again, you need to be mindful of the kind of authenticity or reliability of your documents that you have, whether you are getting the real document, whether you can prevent it from being tampered by others. Again, an aspect of security. Business continuity, one of the most important factors. When you are on a platform or a technology platform, you might be worried that my day-to-day operations might get impacted if there is a security breach. The show needs to go on, and that's what security features do it for you. So you have to protect your data and your security. Then comes ethical considerations. Every organization has an ethical responsibility of maintaining their information and their documentation and the security of their documents or the handling the sensitive data. So we have to abide by that as well. When we are talking about all this, we need to be secure. We need to feel safe when we're using IDR. Does IDR actually do all this? Yes, it does. It handles confidentiality, integrity, availability with the help of data encryption. Data encryption is utilized at two aspects. One is when the data is at rest, when you have stored it in your database, when you have it in place. and when the data is in transit. So when you're moving data across applications, so IDR uses data encryption for both the cases. Role-based access control, something that all of you might have seen, or for others with, if it's a new concept, it's roles that we assign to users with Oracle Cloud. And these roles restrict data or manipulation of data or sensitive data across different roles. So you might have someone who might have access to just view the data, and someone who needs to actually modify the data will have access to it. Multi-factor authentication, that's another added layer of security. So in addition to passwords that you're entering, there could be multi-factor authentications where it could ask you to enter an OTP or 2 level of security or multiple level of security so that you know that your documents are secure. Auditing and monitoring. Again, IDR maintains comprehensive audit logs for all the user activities in the system related to IDR. This is mainly done so that you can identify quickly if there is any suspicious event and you can quickly take a corrective action for it. Data segregation. One customer should not be able to see the data of another customer. IDR handles that as well. Redundancy and data disaster recovery. So when we're talking about this, in an unlikely case of a data breach, you should be able to come back, or you should be able to perform your day-to-day activities without any interruption. So data replication, backup mechanisms, failover capabilities, all this is handled by IDR as well. Your security compliance, something we spoke about already, it abides by GDPR and the HIPAA rules. Security patching and updates. So what Oracle does is, although it is a pretty robust feature, it has all the security measures, it does keep identifying any gaps, any minor vulnerabilities, and it keeps improving on it. So you might be seeing your monthly maintenance packs or your quarterly releases that you're applying in your system. All that, especially if you're using IDR, they keep improving or adding on to their security measures with every release. And finally, data privacy. You need to ensure that the customers or the users or the suppliers, they're able to see their own data, modify it, review it, but not be able to see others' data. So you need to abide by all the privacy regulations. Moving on to the future of IDR. What does IDR have in the upcoming months or upcoming years? What is Oracle doing in terms of IDR? How is it going to improve? So Oracle plans on empowering organizations with more intelligent automated and integrated document processing. It wants to keep improving IDR. It doesn't want to stop at just recognizing the data. It wants to go multiple steps further. It wants to drive digital transformation, improve operational efficiency, and give you a much better product than what you have right now. So what the idea that we see today, what we're going to see in a couple of months is going to be different. It's going to be even better. How Oracle plans to do this? It plans to use advanced machine learning. For one of the questions that we had today is, will it be using multiple document types apart from the ones that are used? So it's using advanced machine learning to incorporate more diverse type of documents and extraction of data. Cognitive automation. Again, it's going to leverage natural language processing to further not only be able to read the data, to convert it into key fields, but also be able to interpret the data. Intelligent workflows. It will also take into consideration workflows, how you can automatically process, route your documents and move it downstream across workflows. So even that task will be done for you. Your invoices will automatically be validated, be submitted for approval, will go through the approval process and can go through the payment. End-to-end document processing, what we just spoke about. Expanded document types and industries. It's going to expand further across multiple document types, multiple industries, and continuous innovation. So when we're talking about continuous innovation, a lot of concepts are there. Artificial intelligence is a vast field, but Oracle plans to use computer vision, which basically means that your artificial intelligence will be able to read a document, see an image or a video, and not only be able to view it or understand it, but also be able to interpret. It is going to try to replicate the human brain. Deep learning, it is going to try to understand whatever it sees. So IDR is going to grow further using AI deep learning. It's going to use more learning models to better improve. And natural language processing, by which it is going to try to understand human speech. So you might have already seen it, but all this integrated together, Oracle plans to do what the human brain is doing. So that's where IDR is going to go in the near future. Finally, coming to the summary and the conclusion for today. I'm not going to read that out. We've already spoken about all this in detail. What I would want to say, based on the discussion that we have had today, let's step into the future with Oracle IDR. Let's start using it. Let's start discussing about it. We are going to move on to the question and answer session. I would be very happy if I would see more interaction, and you could let me know your personal experience. We can learn from each other today. It's always nice to know about what kind of experience you have in your organization. Any question, comment, feedback, it's more than welcome. You can open the forum for questions, feedback, and interactions, please. Over to you, Fanny.
So Samaita, so we do have a couple of questions from Subrajit.
Okay. Yes.
Question number one, can we customize the OCR to read different unstructured documents?
Yes, we can do that. OCR can be customized further. It can view or it can read multiple types of documents. It can even read handwritings by humans. So not just text, it can identify different types of fonts. It can identify different languages. So you can teach OCR to do that for you.
I think the question number two is also covered in that. Can the OCR read the PDF files?
OCR reads PDF files as well. So when there might have been a confusion because we mentioned it specifically to IDR. OCR is one of the tools that IDR uses. So OCR basically does the first level of the job where it reads your PDF file, it extracts the information and converts it into editable text in your system. So OCR and IDR both actually focus on PDF files. But again, you can provide scanned images also. OCR will be able to take scanned images and convert it as well.
Okay. And there is a question from Chandrasekhar. Is there any specific invoice format that IDR requires? Because each supplier have their own invoice format.
Yes. So on this, I would like to answer this based on my personal experience, what I have seen. So I have been actually working with a couple of clients where I've been working with them on IDR for, let's say, around 2.5 years now. So what we usually do is when we start off using IDR, we try to teach it. So you need to give it a couple of learning models. What I mean by learning models is 10 to 15 different types of supplier invoices. So like you correctly said, you might have a supplier whose invoice looks very different. They might have their invoice lines mentioned on the right-hand side of the page, and on the left-hand side, they have the supplier details and the information about their customer. Another supplier might have it on top. They might have the name of the supplier on top and the invoice lines at the bottom, or they could have multiple pages. So what it's generally recommended is when you're trying to use IDR, start giving IDR multiple types of invoices. What it does is, one of the aspects of IDR is layout analysis. It is included in its algorithms and it uses machine learning. So it tries to read your layout and it tries to understand that this is where I will expect to see this kind of information. For instance, if you load one particular invoice where you see the invoice lines on the right hand side, IDR will recognize this. So, okay, for this supplier, the invoice lines will come on this section. But if you provided a different invoice where the data is in a different section of the invoice or a different format of the invoice, it will pick it up because it basically focuses on keywords. So for instance, when you go to an invoice as well, your invoice date, on your supplier invoice image, you might have the word invoice date, and below that the date will be written. Or you might have the word invoice number and below that the invoice number. So how IDR works is it searches for those keywords in your supplier image. It will find that keyword and it will look around that keyword in a circumference and see if it can find any data which would refer to that particular keyword. For example, invoice number.
Okay. So there is another question from Surendra. Do we need to pay any additional cost to Oracle?
No, it comes under the offering for Oracle Payables Cloud. So it is part of that. If you want to use it, you will need to ask Oracle to enable it for you. So it's not enabled directly. You will have to ask Oracle to enable it, but it comes under the Payables license.
Okay. There is another question from Chakradhar. What is the full form of OIC?
Oracle Integration Cloud. So what OIC does is, OIC is like a middleware, or it's for instance, you can for instance a guide. So let's say you have Oracle IDR, and Oracle IDR wants to talk to Oracle PeopleSoft. So let's say Oracle IDR has picked up some employee information and it wants to send it to Oracle PeopleSoft. It can use Oracle Integration Cloud, which will form like a middleware, and it will transmit this data from Oracle IDR to PeopleSoft.
Okay.
Or any other third-party system for that matter. Doesn't need to be Oracle's also.
So that's it. We have answered all the questions.
Okay, that's great. Do we have any
And
personal experiences? Anyone is using IDR or OCR? We would love to know that as well.
sure, we'll drop in the mail for each participants. So it was an insightful webinar. Thank you, Samaita, for your amazing insights on this topic and sharing industry's best practices based on your experiences.
Thank you. I had a great time sharing the information as well. You want me to stop sharing, Fanny? You want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So wherein they can drop us, yeah, this thing exactly. So thank you everyone for your attention and participations. We are offering free health check to all the participants. To avail the free assessment, please write to us at sales@avalonsoftwareservices.com to schedule a one-on-one meeting. Or else if you have any doubts, queries, or want to talk business, please reach out to us at sales@avalonsoftwareservices.com, or you can reach out to me at Phanindra, which is PHANINDRA.K@avalonsoftwareservices.com. And to know more about Avalon software and service offerings, please head to our website, which is www.avalonsoftwareservices.com. And we will be running a webinar series on insightful contents like this. Please look out for our LinkedIn page, which is Avalon Software Services, or our website for latest updates and webinars and events. So if you, so there was a question from a few of the participants asking if they can rewatch this webinar again. Yes, you can rewatch this webinar. And if you missed our previous webinars, you can visit to our YouTube channel, which is Avalon Software Services. You will find our channel over there. Feel free to subscribe in order to not miss any of the webinars. And thank you everyone for your valuable time. Look forward to connecting with you all.
Thank you everyone for joining us. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you, Samaita. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.